The final session today is all about solos, and in fact, it's called Solos. The whole idea of it is to bring stories, the origins, the learnings, and the outcomes of people's different projects that they've learnt about and brought to the market here in Dubai. Now, we've got three fabulous areas to cover for you here tonight, and we're going to get underway. So please, without any further ado, would you welcome onto the stage for the first and final session of the day in this section, Luz Filmali, the Deputy Chairman of Cinema Akil. Thank you. Good afternoon, how are you?
Hi, I'm good, nice to meet you.
This stage is yours.
Thank you so much. Hello, hi everyone, good afternoon. My name is Luz Villamil and I am the Deputy Director of Cinema Akil. Does anybody here know Cinema Akil? Oh, great. That's good news already. We are the only independent art house cinema in the GCC currently. We have opened in Dubai as of September last year, 2018, and we have been operating in Dubai since 2014 as a pop-up or event. So I want to take you a little bit through our trajectory, what are some of the learnings that we have had, and particularly focus on the way that a business like ours that is so niche and quite unique, it's a completely different take on film, has been able to succeed over the past 4 years. So for those of you who have not been to the cinema, this is what Cinema Akil looks like. It is located in Al Serkal Avenue, which is considered the cultural district of the city of Dubai. Our cinema is very alternative. It looks very different than probably what you're used to in the multiplexes at the malls. It has a very living room warm feel, and it's just a completely different setup than what we're used to. The whole point was that we wanted people who were coming to watch some of the stories that we were putting on screen to really be inspired by the experience around them as well. So not to leave the cinema and be bombarded with a lot of other content and visuals, but rather to really sit with the story and be able to have a conversation afterwards. So this is where a lot of the design came from. We are the first art house cinema in the city, and we have been able to take our concept forward through a trajectory that has not been easy, but it has been a labor of a lot of love since the past 4 years. So we started in July 2014 as a pop-up. So we were doing screenings in different spaces in Dubai and Abu Dhabi, particularly taking over outdoor spaces. So Al Serkal Avenue would allow us to do screenings on their outdoor yard area, and this is where our community building began. During our first screening was actually at a very small art gallery across the avenue from Al Quoz, and we had approximately 10 to 15 people. We were screening films from Chile, from Japan, from different places of world cinema, and the audience was really, really, really tiny at that point. And as we continued to do more programming and to insert and try different things and to allow the audiences to experiment cinema in a different way, it allowed us to continue growing the pop-ups, and we were able to do screenings at Al Amarat Park in Abu Dhabi. We do Seoul DXB every year. We've done Market OTB, different festival, different events that we have participated in over the years. Based on that success, we decided to test our concept that an actual art house space would function in Dubai. And so we did a warehouse takeover, and we took over a warehouse for 2.5 months in the summer of 2017, and we called the program Now Playing, which is the middle image that you see on the screen. We were screening 2 films every single night for 2.5 months, and we were able to see through the audience that it was actually growing, and there was a real interest for alternative content in Dubai. There was a real interest for a community gathering of film. So we thought that, like in the sense of the multiplexes that were seeing their numbers drop, we were afraid that in our case it would be the same. However, we realized that the trick was really on on finding the right content and allowing the right conversations to happen. And that at the end of the day, not everybody wants to stay home and watch Netflix by themselves. That there is a beauty in that communal gathering of watching a common story. And this is why we spent between September 2017 to September 2018 building our home, which is now in Al Serkal Avenue, warehouse number 68. This is the outside of our space. I do invite you all to come by. We have opened the cinema with a single screen, which has 133 seats, and it also has a chai diner, which is Project Chaiwala. It is also an independent business, and we try to bring in some of the nostalgic elements of the first standalone cinemas in the UAE back in the 70s and 80s when it first was founded. Our programming, as you can obviously tell, is quite different from the programming that we see on the multiplexes. We focus a lot on classics, on international and world cinema. We have a very, very strong documentary focus, and we also try to be the home and the space for Arab and Middle Eastern cinema. So we do give a very special place for Middle Eastern and local filmmakers. We belong to a network of alternative art house screens all across the Middle East. So we gather together once a year, and there are independent spaces in Egypt, in Morocco, in Lebanon, in Palestine, and us in the GCC. And we share programming, we share ideas, and most importantly, we also share thoughts on how to bring the community together and how to increase our possibility to reach a wider audience. Our pop-ups became our largest running marketing campaign for Cinema Akio. It ran for 4 years, and it started as an experiment. And in those 4 years, we were able to do more than 65 different pop-up screenings across Dubai, Abu Dhabi, and Sharjah. We have done this in more than 25 locations, and we have screened through the pop-ups only more than 250 film features and probably around 400 shorts, if not more. We have done 42 collaborations. We have worked with brands, such as we have put together programs for brands like Vans, Cadillac, Persol, among others. We have worked together very closely with a lot of cultural organizations, including, of course, Al Serkal Avenue, the Cultural Foundation, the Sheikh Salama Foundation, among other organizations in both culture and arts in the UAE. We have done Art Dubai, Sikka Art Fair, and we have added a lot of the impact on classical and independent and alternative cinema to the cultural fabric of the country. In all of this time, we had more than 50,000 people attend our screenings, which for a very small team of, at that time, 2 people, was quite an achievement for us. These are some images that I wanted to share with you on some of the pop-up screenings that we've had. So this is Market OTB on the first edition. We did all 4 editions of Market OTB. We do Seoul DXB's opening night every single year, and we do also Sikka Art Fair with a focus on local cinema every year. We have run cinema seasons at Al Serkal Avenue for the past 4 years, as well as at Warehouse 421 in Abu Dhabi. At Warehouse 421 in Abu Dhabi, we have given a space to contemporary Arab cinema to be watched by hundreds of people every single month in the good weather season. We have also experimented with alternative content, and the Dubai Design District allowed us to do a cine concert where we took a film from 1927 that was originally German and silent, and we invited musicians from Bahrain, Egypt, and the UAE to collaborate together and reinterpret the score in the Egyptian electro-shabi style of music. It was our widest or largest event. 1,500 people attended, and it was one of the most memorable experiences that I have had having worked at Cinema Akio. We have a very strong focus on doing film weeks and film festivals as well. This allows us to also tap into very different audiences. In Dubai, as we know, we are a very multicultural society, and that allows us also to collaborate a lot with the diplomatic bodies. We have worked with the Italian embassy, we have worked with the French embassy, with the Institut Français, with the Goethe Institute, and the German embassy, and so forth. And we have been able to create some really incredible programs of film specific to an audience. So we have been able to bring out, you know, the Polish audience in Dubai for one Polish film that we run for a week at the cinema. And this is the way that we also try to expand our audience and bring in more people and create more interest in the cinematic arts. This is a video that I wanted to show you. This is our most successful film festival that we do, which is Real Palestine. It is our Palestinian Film Festival. We do it every January. And this will give you an indication of the type of community events that we bring and we put together. These screenings are attended by approximately between 250 to 500 people at the Yard every January. And we bring in also an element of retail. We have markets come in and artisans selling their own crafts, and we have different aspects of the festival come together. This screening was during the opening of the Kos Arts Fest in Dubai. This was me. If anybody has any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And if not, thank you so much. Yes, one question. Yes. Hi. I'm so sorry, I can't hear you.
Sorry, I'm just going to come over to you. There we go.
Are you guys going to come to, are you guys going to go outside of Dubai, UAE? Any plans?
We do, actually. We have a satellite programming in Abu Dhabi. At Warehouse 421 in Mina Zayed, we have screenings once a month, and we also have other events that we do. We post all of our pop-ups and all of our full calendar on our website, cinemakil.com.
Well, there you go. We have a question. Have we got a question? Oh, we have a question here.
Luz,
yes.
A very beautiful homegrown brand. What kind of traction have you brought in for other homegrown brands that have been part of your premises?
Thank you. That is actually a great question. We have collaborated with quite a few brands, and I mean, our biggest collaboration has been obviously with Project Chaiwala, being a homegrown brand as well. When we met the founders of Project Chaiwala, they were just starting as a kiosk, doing their chai concept, and we felt that the two concepts really complemented one another, and this is when we decided to start incorporating them into our pop-ups. So before they were part of our cinema space, they actually were also part of our pop-up story. So in some of our pop-ups, we have also worked with some up-and-coming, particularly F&B outlets, in order to give them more visibility and in order for us to also be able to benefit from their following. And it has been a very symbiotic relationship with a lot of not only F&B vendors, but as I said, also with people who make crafts, who have a specific artisan crafts as well. And then we've also worked with other organizations in order to bring more light to their causes. So we have worked also with feline friends, and right now, this month, as the month of October, we're working with Al Jalila Foundation, and we're doing a few talks on breast cancer awareness and so on. So we are very open to collaborating and working together with other brands in order to also bring more visibility to them.
Any more questions for Luz at all while she's there? Thank you for that. Thank you very much. Round of applause for Luz.
Thank you.
Thank you, Luz. Thank you. Right, well, it's got to that time of day where we all probably feel a little bit hungry and a little bit peckish, and we need some great food. But great food isn't always good enough, really, but soul food is what we want in our lives. Well, our next speaker is going to tell you about his story and his business story. Has anybody heard of Moti Roti here in Dubai? Of course you have. Great food, fabulous food, and it's one of those places where you always head to if you want some real good, honest cooking. Of course, Moti Roti has achieved cult status here in Dubai. It's got a great following, and lots of people love it because it's exactly what it says on the tin. Great soul food. The man who's going to tell you about the story of Moti Roti is the founder of the homegrown food concept, which is, of course, Moti Roti. Welcome to the stage, Tahir Shah. We're just going to get Tahir's microphone on for him to do his latest Madonna impression on the stage. And of course, after Tahir, by the way, we've got another presentation, our final presentation. It's a very intriguing speech that we're going to be having, something that is really apt in the world today. Mental awareness, and of course the campaigns which you'll see not only here in Dubai, but of course mental health in the UK is a major, major thing within organisations and businesses. So our final speaker of the day will be creating the image that is something incredible, creating a safe place for you and your workers to literally go to if a moment is needed. So that's our final speaker, who's going to be taking the stage. And of course, Leanne's going to be taking the stage in a moment. But I think Tahir is all mic'd up and ready to go. Tahir, if it doesn't work, you can use this one. Ladies and gentlemen, Tahir Shah, thank you.
Is it working?
Yeah.
It's working.
There we go.
Felt like I was operated on. Well, thank you for those of you who braved it this far into the day. And thank you, TheRetailNEXT, for having me on once again. Shout out, I don't know if Luce left already, but shout out to Cinema Akil. Shout out to Cinema Akil, who I think we've been intertwining in our journeys. We've watched them grow at the same events and the same pop-ups, and it's really amazing to see you guys flourished and staked a hole in the ground for homegrown. And getting other homegrowns in with you, like the Project Chaiwala guys. So well done to you guys. If I'll run you a little why I'm up here today. I mean, Rupkata said, the guys at Images TheRetailNEXT said, come up and tell them what happened with your business. How did you start? How did it close? And how did it restart in Dubai? So I'm the guy, or I think everyone can identify with this. If you yourself have worked in an office or your job and you're like, I would love to start one day my own restaurant, or my auntie or so-and-so has the best recipes and I wish I could run a restaurant with their recipes, or you walked into a restaurant and you're like, this is rubbish, I can do it way better. So that was me. So it started like that. I was working in corporate for about 12 years, and I thought, I don't want to be here forever and sitting at a desk. And when I tried to extrapolate and look ahead, fast forward 10 years, I'm like, maybe I'll have a nice house, maybe I'll have a nice 4x4, maybe I'll be head of some region or some division. But so what? Like, is that it? I don't want it to be that. So I made a decision back in 2012, okay, I'm going to leave and I'm going to start a restaurant, and my mom's food is really cool and really tasty, and let's see if everyone else thinks it's really tasty. And it's the same thing, very similar origin story to, as Luce mentioned about Cinema Akil, we started as pop-ups, totally experimental. Dubai was incredibly, I found it a very high, I knew nothing about food, nothing about how to start a restaurant, nothing about chefs and logistics and supply. So what I found, to my horror, was like how much it cost just to start a restaurant. I was like, I didn't get that much money from my redundancy, so I'll figure out another way to start. So it started as a pop-up. So I had to think on my feet. Long story short, for this segment only, I went to a local supermarket downstairs from my old office in Media City. I said, hey, you have an area next to your bakery. Is it being used? They said no. I said, well, I've got a great idea to sell food from here. Can I come? I said, sure. Where's your trade license and your, like, you know, in Dubai, you have to, like 10 documents you have to produce. So I had to figure out, like, how am I going to do this? I found a space where to sell it. I have an idea of what to make. Now, how do I make it? So then I went to another restaurant in Dubai. I said, here's my mom's recipes. Can you cook it? And they're like, sure. Okay, so it started like this. Partner with someone who can supply, partner with someone where you can sell it, and then test your concept without spending too much money. And this was a really good way. It worked really well. My old colleagues from my office started eating lunch from me. And then I started replicating this pop-up, and eventually we got into the food truck space. So I guess we were amongst the first By the way, I always love touting this fact. It's one of the most banal facts ever, but I believe we're the world's first Pakistani food truck. Look it up. But yeah, so we were one of the first food trucks. And we also found, unfortunately, as amazing and wonderful that as an experience it was to pioneer or help break ground for food trucks in UAE, it was very hard to sustain. Okay, it's seasonal. You can only go and sell at certain events. You can or invited to private catering. There was no such things in those days as a regular spot where a bunch of food trucks could stay all year round and sell, and of course the weather. So we're like, okay, let's pivot. Can we do it as a delivery? Can we just do delivery? Find a retail unit which is not for people to dine in, just a small unit, just for low rent, and we'll just do delivery out of there. So we found a spot in JLT. So this was a nice transition, like from pop-up to food truck to eventually a restaurant that does delivery. Then, unfortunately, we just, what happens to a lot of startups, we ran out of capital, ran out of cash. So we just went and hit a wall. As much as we thought we were doing well and orders were going up and people liked the food, we were burning capital so quick as the food business is very mercurial like this. We ended up trying different ways to see if we can, like we started putting other concepts alongside as virtual concepts and seeing if we could sell from the same kitchen, but unfortunately we couldn't get it to fly, and tragically in 2017 I had to make the decision to close it. And this was a tumultuous, if very adventurous 5 years, I think, in the lifetime of Mochi Roti. And it was for me, it was a very sad occasion. It's like if any of you have run a startup or a business before, it's like having your own kid. So it's incredibly, this part of my journey was very difficult. It was like a wilderness phase, because then you think after this, like, what do? I left corporate because I didn't want to be bossed around. I ran my own tiny institution, and now I don't have the means to do it anymore. So whilst I was figuring this out, fate offered a little generous hand. At that time, Kareem got into the food delivery space. I just picked up on the grapevine, just as I had shut down, that they had acquired a startup here called Round Menu, and they wanted to compete in the food delivery space. So I think because of the traction, the following, and the tiny cult thing, let's say resonance we had with the young Pakistani Indian community, Kareem, we had ended up doing collaborations with Kareem because they liked what we were doing, and because I had a relationship, I could reach out to them. I reached out to Kareem. I said, hey, remember me, Mochi Roti? We did some things together before. I heard you're into food delivery. I know everything about food delivery. Put me on your team. And I went for an interview, and incredibly grueling interview. And thankfully, they offered me a job, and I've come on board as of 1 year with them to lead their food delivery efforts in the Middle East, here and in Saudi. The good thing about this is that it's an organization. It's like being in a startup within the confines of a corporate. So you kind of get to still be a mini entrepreneur, which is a nice thing. So as this happened, also, I'm also part of a shift in the market. You don't have anymore the consumer who goes out and eats at a nice restaurant every day with friends and family. You have people who want to chill, want to watch Netflix, they want to order in. They don't go out to shop as much anymore. You have noon.com, you have the convenience of Amazon and etc. in this region. And it's the same trend, we started to see in food. It just so happens that recently, because of the change in the consumer shift, my ex-business partner, who had his own commercial central kitchen, a lot of people were approaching him and saying, hey, can I run my food directly out of your kitchen? Can you guys cook the food in your kitchen and I'll deliver it out of your kitchen? So this is what we call nowadays dark kitchens or cloud kitchens. This is the rage, or rather the trend now in the industry. So people have shifted away from malls and dine-in to delivery. And then this happened to, the balance tipped back in my favor, because my old Pakistani chef joined with my ex-business partner on some other project. My business partner, he pings me, he goes, the chef is back. We have a dark kitchen because all these other, I started doing delivery for all these other people. I have the kitchen, I have the supply. It costs nothing to switch Mochi Roti back on. So we switched it back on. So we did a quiet reboot, let's say, back in, as of 1 month. So I think I was just so, I think the surprise was so wonderful that fate can come full circle and tell you, no, come on, have another go. There's something here. Keep going. And so I'm at this place now. It's a very, very nice place to be after a very dark 1 year previous to this. And from a dark place to a dark kitchen. And now, I think it's, I'm not only has my brand managed to reboot, I'm in the industry as well. I'm working at a food delivery place on the other side of the business and understanding what do restaurants want, what do people want. So other than the fact that the industry has gone towards cloud and dark kitchens and delivery only, everything is data-driven, and I work in a very data-driven environment now. And this is, like, for me, this is a great boon to have this skill and learn how to understand all this plethora of data that we have about people, about restaurants, about the food industry in this region, and what it says actually about us. So yeah, it's incredible to be standing in this place now. I'm not really sure. 3 minutes. Okay. I'm not really sure how to wrap it up, because the path is just as open and mysterious to me as it is to you. I would only end this incredibly long anecdote on one thing, and that is, if someone was to ask me what is an overarching theme or a common thing that you learn from running a business, from shutting down a business, from rebooting a business, from being in the industry and being employed in that industry, I would say it's that, honestly, nobody knows anything. It's the best thing I learned. No one knows a thing, and we're all learning as we go. We're all predicting with the best information that we have around us. We come up with plans based on the data that we have, and then we run those plans, and then life gets in the way. That's all the unpredictable and unforeseen things that happen, and then the rest of it is, as you as an entrepreneur is figuring it out and overcoming those hurdles. I think I am. Yeah.
Thank you, Tahir. Any questions for Tahir? Round of applause. Thank you, sir. Great story. Do we have any questions from the floor? Tahir, I think you've done wonderfully there. You've answered everybody's question. Thank you. Tahir Shah, everybody. Thank you, sir. Right, our final speaker is coming to us with an incredibly important subject about mental health awareness. Wherever you go around the world these days, employers are taking it into their tracks about, of course, how important it is for their employees to be feeling happy, feeling energized at work. I mean, we would probably all agree that being energized gets you through the day and makes your employees really achieve their goals in what they do. Our next speaker is the co-founder of a company called Safe Place, a company that intends to do exactly that. Make sure that your employees or you or anybody else within your organization needs a safe place to go. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the co-founder of Safe Place, Leanne Sherlock.
Hi everyone, my name's Leanne, I'm the co-founder of Safe Space. I'd like to thank those of you that are still here, massive appreciation for sticking around. I know it's been a pretty long day for a lot of you here today. So I guess for some of you are wondering what exactly is Safe Space. Well, it's a mental health awareness platform that has been created to provide free community support, but also to provide a safe space for anybody in need, whether it be in the community or whether it be in your corporate environment. It's one of the first of its kind, and together we collectively bring together brands and businesses and trained medical professionals who have the experience and the expertise in order to provide free and accessible healthcare. So why am I here? I guess you're wondering. Well, so today I'm here to talk about matters of the mind, and after listening to some of the talks today and some of the stories, it's been really interesting to hear about all of the struggles that have been happening in the retail industry. And, you know, sorry. I too worked in the service industry for 7 years, and I'm only too familiar with just how pressurizing business can be. So the mind is something that's very personal to each and every one of us. So I wanted to take you through my personal journey and the story that I've been on. So my background is branding and marketing. I've been in Dubai almost 7 years, and before setting up Safe Space, I was working as an account director within an advertising agency, and I was working with some huge high-profile brands from Under Armour to Expo to Mubadala, DTCM, the World Cup races, and I've been really privileged to, during my time here, to being able to travel all around the GCC. I've built up some amazing friends whilst I've been here. I've had the opportunity to, you know, travel to some amazing places, such as Thailand, the Maldives, Zanzibar. And, you know, I really have had the best that all of Dubai's had to offer. And, you know, some people would even look at my life on social media and say, you know, that I'm pretty much living my best life. But then one day, my whole world came crashing down. I was in a relationship at the time that broke down, and the person that I was with, he ended the relationship and didn't want to be with me anymore. So as you can imagine, for anyone that's ever been through a breakup, it pretty sucks. And at the same time, I had just been promoted as well in the agency and was given a huge task of turning around a number of accounts that were struggling. So I really felt pressure from all different angles coming at me. I felt pressure from my client, pressure from the agency, pressure on myself, pressure on my team, and I was really struggling to cope. And you know, I've been through difficult times before, but it was at this point when I started to experience physical symptoms as well. You know, I was going into work and I couldn't make decisions. I was struggling to write the simplest of emails. I was sat in meetings, I couldn't absorb any information, and then one day I went for a meeting, and it was a simple route that I'd taken, you know, every week to see my client, and I got lost for over an hour. I couldn't read the road signs, and then I went to the meeting, and when I got out of the meeting, I couldn't remember a single word that had been said to me. And then I got home that evening, and I had my first attack of anxiety. So at that point, I knew that I needed to get some form of help. So I decided to take some time out and really look for some professional help. But at the time, I didn't realize that I was suffering with stress and anxiety. So when I was looking for help, I didn't even know what was wrong with me to try and find the help. And it was a minefield, you know, trying to search for people, professionals on Google. And then thankfully, because I'd been in the region for such a long time, a friend of mine had referred me to a specialist, and she really helped me change my whole life around. And You know, it was through only talking to her that I realized that through my breakup and through the loss of, from me leaving my job, it had triggered a lot of things from my childhood that I really had forgotten about. And so I found the process of speaking to someone really uplifting, and I went through this whole journey of self-discovery and learning about myself, and then I decided that I'd bite the bullet and work as a freelance consultant. So it was at that point when I was freelancing that I joined up to a social media network group called Female Fusion for Women in Business. And it's a really good tool for anyone that's kind of in the freelance game or looking for opportunities or wants to connect to other women in the industry. And I came across a call out from our original founder, Helen Hope, who'd put out a post calling for any trained professionals, whether they were healthcare professionals or in the service industry, that really wanted to donate their time collectively to help create safe spaces for people in need. So immediately, I was really inspired by the post. So I reached out to Helen and we met up for a coffee. And after talking to her, I really learned that she'd had a very similar experience to me, and we really connected. And Helen at the time was also trying to get her own retail fashion label, Heart Knocks, off the ground, and had also developed a campaign, the I'm Fine campaign, which is the t-shirt that I'm wearing, for a social media movement called Mental Health is Trending. And I just really wanted to help because I was so inspired by her story. And then she told me about Safe Space, and she mentioned that they were going to be having their first ever committee meeting, which is almost, well, tomorrow is 9 months to the day since we had the first meeting. So I went along to one of the committee meetings, and it was really, really inspiring because, you know, I was sat there talking about everything I'd experienced, but I was also hearing everybody else's stories as well. So, you know, people that had been through a burnout, people that had lost their jobs, been made redundant, people who were grieving. And at that point, I started to realize that actually I wasn't alone. And also, I started to switch on to everything that was going on around me in the region. And I'm not sure if you're aware of some of the statistics, but 1 in 3 people in Dubai require mental health support. So, you know, if you look around, that, you know, to your left and your right, that's almost, you know, one person on the side of you. And, you know, in a lot of cases, people who have even health insurance, they don't have mental health covered as part of their policies. And as I had experienced for myself, the market is a very fragmented place. So after going to the committee meetings, myself and Helen and our other co-founder, Danny, we're all pretty much from a marketing background, and we sat down and really thought about how we could not just raise awareness, but how could we really put things into action. And I think because of our own experiences, we understood just how powerful and impactful developing an established and well thought out brand, how much it can impact. So we set about developing a brand. We have done everything internally ourselves in-house. We've developed our look and feel, we've developed our website, we've developed all of our own content, and we've also developed an ecosystem that helps us to really keep a structure and a plan in place. So I'll just take you through some of that structure. So we've built a committee of people. All of the people here that you can see are the original committee members who came to the first ever Safe Space event. And some of the people on screen are really quite interesting. Matt, for example, he has developed his own telemedicine app for people to be able to connect to a therapist. And that app is called Talk Circle. And then we've got people like Andrew, who specializes in user-generated content, but really wants to use the social media aggregator to kind of normalize conversations around mental health. As well as that, we've developed a family of associates. So Simon and Tim are the directors of a digital agency called Hug, and they've been through their own journeys or have their own experiences of people they know or things that they've been through when it comes to mental health. And they've actually taken us on as one of their clients to develop our launch campaign. And one of our other co-founders, Danny, has actually had a really interesting meeting this afternoon with Google, who are really super keen to partner with us. Rosa is our PR agency as well. Again, another agency that's been willing to take us on pro bono and is the very reason that I'm here tonight. We've also got Maria, who is sat at the front row. She is our Director of Wellness. Maria comes from a professional healthcare background, and she's really coming in to ensure that, you know, we're really verifying and looking at everybody that we're going to be working with. We've got Pam as well, who's our legal consultant, and her role is to kind of help us to really align with UAE standards and ensure that everything we're doing is as per the UAE law. And then we've also got Rio, who's been helping us with our media and sponsorship. Whilst going through the system, we've also developed a number of partners, and it's been really refreshing to see that every kind of venue that we've partnered with has been, you know, really positive about bringing, you know, safe space into their company. Some of the people on here are actually talking at tomorrow's event, so if you are here tomorrow, definitely check them out. We've got Ibrahim from Smash Rooms, and then also Tanya from Tanya's Tea House as well. And we've just secured at least another 10 venues that want to partner with us, either whether it be on talks or workshops, or just to provide a safe space for a trained medical therapist or professional to sit while somebody goes and speaks to someone. Whilst developing our brand, we also set out of developing some values that we live and breathe by. So each of the co-founders have been through a similar experience, so we genuinely care about the business that we're in. Another one of our values is that we facilitate. So as co-founders, none of us have had any kind of training in therapy or in the healthcare industry, and we're not pretending that we have, or that's what we do. We're not. We're the facilitators to provide those safe spaces. And we change. So we are here to change the opinions and attitudes of people in society, but also to create a culture of change. And we collaborate. So we want Safe Space to provide a bigger platform for other mental health initiatives that are out there in the region, and so that they can have a bigger voice and be heard. As part of our ecosystem, we've developed a set of content pillars which cover every aspect of a person's life, because when somebody encounters mental health issues, it's usually a byproduct of something else that hasn't really been working in their life, or the balance has shifted. So these are some of the pillars that we look at, and this is what we develop our content around, whether it be workshops, coaching, training. And we have a long-term vision. So our long-term vision is to provide free community wellbeing support 365 days of a year. We want to create a home from home that is non-judgmental and change the culture through the power of conversation. This is a little bit about us in action. So at the moment, we've been campaigning for awareness, and we've been on Virgin Radio. We've had some PR articles that have gone out, and we've done a number of talks and events, and the next phase we'll be looking to work with corporates to help them with their CSR initiatives and coaching and training internally, and anything that they really need to support. So how can you help? So I'm going to play a short video which kind of explains a little bit about how you can help. If you just want to cue the video.
We got a video, guys.
You're such a drama queen.
Just have to get on with it.
You don't look sick.
Everyone has problems.
What exactly is wrong with you?
Things aren't that bad.
Why don't you just eat?
Stop being so weak.
Pull yourself together.
It's all in your head.
Oh, just man up.
You need to stop being more grateful.
Why are you always crying?
You're so draining.
Stop overthinking. How can you be depressed?
You need to change your mindset.
You just have to get over it.
What's anxiety?
Men don't cry.
Stop blaming your illness.
Why are you bothered about your weight? Why are you so up and down?
You don't look depressed.
Have you taken your meds today?
So the message I'd really like you to take away from that is that we're all people in business, and really what we need to do is put people at the heart of everything that we do. So whether you're an employer or an employee, or whether you've got friends, don't be afraid to ask people it's okay and asking how they feel, because by doing that, you're opening up the conversations around mental health, and together we can create change within the culture that we live in. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much, Leanne. Incredible piece there. Just before you go, any questions for Leanne? Because I think one of the things that I noticed watching your little video there is I can identify things that I've said in my life, certainly to people. I'll come up and join you up here. To people in my life, it's like kind of man up, grow up, you know, don't cry, what have you got to worry about? I think that's things that we can all relate to. And we've got a question from Amitabh at the front here. Sir, what's your question, sir?
Is this a non-profit organization or a for-profit?
So the way that Safe Space acts is a social enterprise that acts in a non-for-profit way.
Not for profit?
Yes.
So how do you fund it?
Pardon?
How do you fund the whole?
So our work that we do with corporates is revenue generated, and that funds the work that we do to provide the free community care.
Thank you.
So there's basically two operations. There's the corporate side of it, where you work within infrastructures of companies,
Yes.
and then offering the social care for people in communities, which is what you're all about to help.
Exactly.
I have to say, it's quite a moving pitch that you just there, and I think people in their lives probably have experienced probably a bit of mental health issues and maybe not even be aware of it. But I think what you can see with Leanne and her team is how incredibly valuable what you're doing is. And I honestly take my hats off to you. It's a motive, a valuable part of what people do. I've got a question, another one down here. Here we go. Oh, use this one, it's better.
Leanne, thank you for that wonderful, wonderful video and presentation.
Thank you.
There is a fair amount of judgment around mental health and also around raising awareness about mental health. How are you tackling that? And that cuts across corporations, individuals.
It's a good question. I think what's happening all over the world is there's an epidemic. So I think what we really rely on is government organisations and the big brands to really stand behind it to help normalise those conversations around mental health. And people like Hug, who are working on our launch campaign and introducing us to those corporates, are only further helping us to get people comfortable about talking about the uncomfortable.
Just another one for me. I'm sorry, everybody, but I think this is an incredibly fascinating piece. And you probably get this all the time. What kind of barriers do you have as an organisation to get yourself in place within big corporations like Google you mentioned? I mean, is there a barrier, or are people opening their arms up and giving you a hug, metaphorically?
I think everyone's really welcoming, but from a legal perspective, I think licensing has been quite challenging, as in, you fall beneath the cracks. You're not healthcare. We're not a healthcare provider, but we really want to raise awareness, and we want to do community events, and we also want to work with corporates, and there's not one specific license that just covers all of that. So I think that's been the most challenging part of the process.
Well, any other questions for Leanne before we let her go from the stage? It's her first presentation. You did incredibly well, Leanne. And
Thanks
listen, I have
kind.
to say, Safe Place is going to be a safe place for a lot of people. So well done to you. Thank you. Well, very moving, very poignant way to end our first day here. We're going to do it all again tomorrow. Listen, I thank you all for, of course, learning and sharing and being with us here today. We're going to be back for breakfast tomorrow morning at 9 a.m. I'll be taking you through the morning stages, and Tom will be back in the afternoon. But if you'd like to share anything you've thought about or seen or heard or learnt today, then use the hashtag MRM2019.